What I'm going to be talking about this afternoon is indoor options for housing for your bunnies. So a lot of times people might have a rabbit outdoors, they want to bring it into the house, but they don't really know how can I house this rabbit inside, what can I do to take care of it. So you'll see here we have some various options of things you can do at home. Some you may be familiar with, some you may not be. One thing you'll see in all of them is we have a litter box, we have a food and water source, we have soft bedding for their feet, and we have toys. So any environment you make for your bunny, you want to have those four things for their health and their mental enrichment. First thing I'm going to talk about is puppy exercise pens, which are, I have one down here. You see we had several out in the Ambassador Bunny area. The thing I really like about these is they're very versatile. So you can see we have one set up here that's a 2x6 configuration. You can also set them up as a 4x4 configuration. Depending on what kind of room you have at home, these are very good. Very easy to clean. You can just tear this entire thing down, clean whatever you need to do, put it back with fresh sheets, put your bunny back home, and everybody's happy. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is a commercial condo like these made by Lathe. These are actually very nice. They're very sturdy. You can see this one's on wheels, very easy to move. And this is actually a prize you can buy raffle tickets for, by the way. The big advantage of this is there's no work to put it together. There's 2 screws to assemble this unit, and you're going. They're a little pricey, but they are really good for someone who doesn't want to have to spend a lot of time figuring out how to make something work. You see we have 2 stories here with a ramp. Bunnies love to climb. They love to be up high so they can see what's below them. So they use these carpet ramps to go up and down. You see you generally would have a litter box on each level. And then you would have a hay source on each level, and then toys wherever the bunnies might want to use them. The third thing we're going to talk a little bit about is this unit here. Now you may have seen over in the Ambassador area where Jumanji is, he's in one of these condos. Now these are actually made, I built this last night, out of these grids. These are called either Neat Idea Cubes or there's other names for them. These are basically intended to be used for shelving units. They come 23 to a package, and you'll often see them around July, August, back to school time. These are very popular. What I did over here was, if you take a look at this condo here, the walls, the roof, and each of the floors are all made with those. And what we do is, to assemble them, if you want, you can either come up on the stage after or take a look at the one that Juju is in. We use these, you call them either cable ties or zip ties. So these are the kind of thing where it only goes in one direction. So what you do is, if you want to attach 2 panels, you put them next to each other, put this through, zip it, now they're attached. The nice thing about these is it's a very inexpensive way to go if you want to build something custom. Like say if you have a certain amount of space up a high wall, you can make these very high and shallow. If you do that, you have to tie them into the wall behind them so they don't fall over. If you have more floor space, you can make them wider. It's versatile in terms of how you configure them. The disadvantage over something like this is not easy to move. And I have seen examples on the internet. I've never built one. I've seen people who built actual sleds with casters on them. You put this on top of it and you can move it around. So that's an option. So the Nick cubes are like I said, the roof, the walls, and the floor. The substrate where the bunny actually stands is not going to be this, right? The bunny's feet's going to go through this. We don't want them on wire because it'll hurt their feet. So what we use is this neat stuff called coroplast. Coroplast is a word made up that basically means corrugated plastic. This is used for signs. So you'll find it like I bought this at Fast Signs, which is a sign making shop. You buy these in these sheets, either 4 feet by 4 feet or 4 feet by 8 feet. And you can see if you look up closer here, it's actually cut to fit exactly with how my cubes were laid out. So the nice thing about this is plastic, waterproof. Bunnies have an accident or they tip over in the water, you can just vinegar it up, clean it, very easy to sweep, and it gives a nice solid flooring for the bunny. It's also very light, doesn't make this unit very heavy, so if you do have to move it, it's not as bad as if you use something like plywood, which is really heavy. A couple of other things. So, if you have a condo like this, and you have a sick bunny. How do you get the bunny out? How do you get the litter boxes out? How do you get the bunnies in there? The way you do that is you make doors. You'll see that I've made a few doors here in the front. I made one on the front porch here, and I made one here on the second floor. You must have a way to get into each floor. So what you do usually on the top floor is it's a hole through the roof, which is currently covered, but there is one here. So you can see here I made a hole on the second floor and on the first floor. It serves two purposes. One, this is how your bunnies come out for playtime. So you go in and out of that one. And also it allows you to do things like put in food water bowls, clean your litter boxes, and if you ever needed to get to a sick bunny, you can get on any level that came out and you can pull out and go to the vet. So that's really important. Second thing to note, which you can sort of see over here, is there's these little pieces of wood sticking out. And those are, I have a small piece here. Those are just 1x2 lumber, also known as furring strips. And the purpose of these is to give some downward stability to this unit. So think about it, if you have these two panels, here I'm going to put the microphone down. You have these two panels. The bunny stands in the middle of that because there's no stability there. So what the lumber does is that gives you the downward stability so that when bunny stands here, the wood is actually holding them up. So you put one of those on each level. You can either do one long one like I did here, or you can do two short ones, however works for the amount of lumber you have, the amount of space you have. In all three of these cases, you'll see that we've used little rugs or blankets or something to give the bunny a way to get to something soft. It's very important. The other thing about the condos is, depending on the size of your rabbit, like I have one rabbit that's only 2 pounds, so she can never climb up a foot like this. That's longer than she can actually stand up. So what we did for her was we built these shelves. And generally when I build one of these demonstration units, I build shelves because it's easier for the bunnies to do that way. So you'll see there's one here, and there's one here in the back. You might not be able to see so great from where you're sitting. So the idea there is it's 14 inches between stories. For a big rabbit, that's no problem. A small rabbit might not be able to get up 14 inches. So you put the shelf in there, and I used tile for the bunnies to stand on. They'll step up on that like a landing on a stairway and then go up. So they'll go hop, hop, second floor, same thing, get up to the third floor. You can also, with a setup like this, you can go with a hybrid approach. So for example, if you had an X-pen like this, and a condo unit like this, you can push the condo into the back, and then make a patio in the front with the X-pen. So the bunnies can go vertical if they want, or they can come out and hang out horizontal if they want to. That's good if you have a lot of space and you trust your bunnies not to jump out of the patio area. So that's about what I wanted to go through. Again, you'll notice that we have hay baskets and we have food and water bowls, toys, and all these setups. Because we really want our bunnies to always be hydrated, always have food, and always have something to play with. So, does anyone have any questions at all about any kind of housing or in-home care for your bunny? No questions? Did you want to say something? Okay, she was asking how do you decide how big to make these various things. So, usually it's based on whatever room you envision in your mind you're going to put your bunny in. You make a decision about, okay, this is how much floor space I have. That's usually the most important thing for people is how much floor space they have. So if you think about, if you had this in a 4x4 configuration, the base floor is slightly larger than one floor of this, but that's all you have. So the idea behind these is you're taking advantage of your vertical space as well as your horizontal space. And the reason that works is because bunnies really do like to climb. What I have my bunnies at home in is I have 5. I have a pair and a trio. And I actually house them in one condo, split in the middle. They don't get along, so they can't actually have access to each other. So the 3 live in the top 2 floors, and the 2 boys live in the bachelor pad in the basement. And that's another thing you can do. You can do that with these also. These ramps can fold up, and so you can actually house 2 sets of bunnies in these. Again, the reason we went that way is because we wanted to take advantage of the vertical space. And The hybrid approach would also work in that. Like you could, for example, if you had bunnies in the basement, they could have access to the patio, and the bunnies upstairs had access to all the floors above them. Other questions? No? Yep. The question was, what kind of lumber was it? So there's a small piece here. These are called furring strips, or 1x2s. They're, the neat thing about it is because the interior dimension is 1.5 inches, you can put these through sideways, like I did here, and then you turn it and it actually locks in place. So this is actually held in place now by the weight of the unit. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. So if you do go out and try to buy these, there's all kinds of different ones you can get. Well, one thing you might get suckered into is these guys. So can you tell the difference between these two? This one is nearly twice as wide. A small rabbit can get their head stuck in this. So what I like to use these for is either the roof or the floors, because those are covered anyway. And you might notice if you come up and look at what I did here, I used some of those big ones on these floors. Chloroplast is on top of it anyway, it doesn't matter, the bunny's not going to fall through. But you don't want to use these bigger ones for the sides, because your lumber won't work, and the bunny's head can actually get stuck in there. Other questions? Okay, if you want to look at any of these up close, feel free to come up. Oh, go ahead. Oh, how did I make the step? So, I took a small piece of lumber like this, and it's hard to see from where you're sitting, but basically, I use that as a foot, and then another panel is attached to the side, and the weight is borne by this. And so that's how this stays up. And the bunny can then climb up without having to have that attached. You can also, if you want, if it's on a second floor, you can attach it to the floor and the ceiling to make it more sturdy. That's what I did at home. But this works well enough for the demonstration. All right. So what I was going to say was, if you want to come up and take a look at these, ask me questions, totally fine. You can also go over to the Ambassador Bunny area. We have several X-Pens set up, we have a lake set up, and we also have a food condo that's the same as this one over here, that you can get a look up close to see kind of how they're put together. All right, thank you for listening.